Hey, boys and girls. So today I said I would give you a lesson on how to make the paper mache paste and show you a little bit about what you need to do to get your work done. So the first thing you're going to need to do is create the skeleton of your animal. So you can use milk carton containers or egg carton containers or small boxes or juice containers or soda containers to kind of put together a skeleton and then crumple up some paper and tape it on so that it starts to look kind of like your animal skeleton. This is my animal. Mine is small and it's light. So I figured today a good way of using it might be just to use some aluminum foil. So the first thing I did was took a big long piece of aluminum foil and I made kind of the body part of my animal. There's the crest that the um, cardinals have. I have a spot where I can attach a beak later using the paper mache. There's his body, his tail. Then I took another smaller piece and kind of crunched it in the middle to kind of make like a kind of almost like a bow tie shape to make the wings. And then I used some clear tape to tape it on. Now I'm ready to make the paper mache. So I'm making, because my animal is small, I'm making half the recipe. So the first thing I did was put half a cup. I'm using my math fractions that we're learning about in math to help me with the science activity. Half a cup of just plain flour in the bowl. Now I need to add, I'm going to start with 3/4 of a cup or 3/4 of water. I'm going to pour it in. And then today I'm just going to use a fork and I'm going to start mixing it up to see if I can get a nice consistent little smooth paste. Now, the thing about paper macheing that you're going to have to consider before you decide to do this, and you're going to have to listen, maybe moms and dads aren't going to want you to do this, but paper mache requires it's a kind of a messy process, and it takes several days to dry. So if you don't want to be spending that much time doing this project, I would probably either make some Play-Doh using the recipe that I sent you, and then sculpt your animal and let it dry, or do a really nice detailed picture and then draw or paint it. But if you want to do the paper macheing, I figured I would show you. All right, so now I have just a clear liquid. Well, not clear, but it's just a nice smooth liquid of the water and the flour mixed together. So now I need some paper. I know the directions say to use newspaper, but Mr. Warholic doesn't get the newspaper anymore. He reads it online. So I'm just going to use some of my notebook paper. And what you need to do is tear it into long strips. And this is where it gets messy. So you're going to have to really do this in an area. Like if you have a nice outdoor patio and it's a nice day, maybe that's where you do it. Or you get some paper or some type of plastic covering on your dining room table and you do this with adult supervision. But you take your paper and then you put it right in the bowl and you get the paper all wet with that paper mache solution, the flour and the water. And then when it's nice and soaked, you take it out, kind of run your fingers down a little bit just to get a little bit of the extra off. And then you start laying it down on top of your creature, this animal skeleton, so that it kind of forms like a nice hard outer shell covering that covers all of this. And then when it dries, what I would do is get some red paint and get it all painted so it's nice and bright red like the male cardinal, or I could do a brownish red if I wanted to make the female cardinal. And then I keep doing the same thing. I get some more paper, I pull all the extra off with my fingers, and I just start to work on wrapping it around. So I'm going to take it up here by the head. I'm just going to start wrapping it around so it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to use my fingers to kind of push it down and make it a little smoother. It's not going to be exactly perfect. Remember, we're working on, sometimes art is a messy process. Some of us are more artistic than others, and that's okay. Our goal is to make it look, for me, to make it look cardinal-like, and it's for you to make it turtle-like, or shark-like, or stingray-like, or turkey-like, or whatever animal that you're making. So I would just keep doing this over and over and over again until I get the whole animal covered, and I can't see any more of the skeleton underneath. It's just like us, animals have a skeleton, but it's covered up by their skin and either their furs or their feathers or whatever it is that they're covered in. All right, so this is what you keep doing, and you can kind of see that it's starting to cover it and form the outer laying of the animal. It's going to take a little bit of time. You're going to need to be able to go ahead and have some patience and some perseverance, because like right here, it's just not wanting to stick. So maybe what I need to do is turn it upside down and then just let it sit for a second, so maybe it can start to set up. But I would keep wrapping my animal until everything's covered. I shouldn't be able to see any more of the silver when I'm all done. It should be all covered. And then I have to set this in a spot where no one's going to bother it. No little brothers or little sisters, no dogs or cats are going to bother it. And it's going to take some time to dry. Probably 2, 3, maybe even 4 days for this to dry. Depends on how big your animal is and how wet you made each piece and how dry your house is. Like today, it's really a damp, kind of humid, but chilly day. So it might take a little bit longer for it to dry than it would otherwise. So you have to plan that out. I'm going to add one more piece. Just kind of show you what I'm doing. And see, I'm taking all this extra off because that will help with the drying a little bit too. All right. So when you do all of this, and this is the last piece I'm going to put on because I'm pretty sure you all have the idea. Almost like we're making a mummy that you would see at like Halloween time by wrapping our skeleton in these paper strips so that we can get the outside of layer all done, covered with it, so then we can paint and add the details that we need to add, like the eyes, the beak. I would have to come back and figure out how to make some feet on here after I get done with this, maybe using pipe cleaners or something like that. But that's pretty much the practice, boys and girls. It's just a lot of the same activity over and over again. You might even want to have the paper torn into strips before you even start, so that way you're ready to go. Newspaper probably is the best, but I'm hoping that my notebook paper will work just fine because I don't have a lot of supplies right now for this kind of stuff, and we're all supposed to stay home and not necessarily go out. And there's no reason to go out to get this stuff when we can do other things like make Play-Doh or draw a picture. All right. So now I'm really starting to see that this is looking maybe a little bit more like an animal. I haven't started covering the wings yet. I kind of wanted to get the main body done first. Plus, putting some of the paper mache over where the wings were attaching is starting to help it stay on a little bit better. But as you can see, like it's starting to come a little bit more. I can start to see the shape of the head. I can see the crest coming up. I can use the paper to help with that part of its body. The tail is starting to look a little bit more like a tail of a bird. So if I got this all done, it would be perfectly ready for me to come back once it's dry, paint it, and make it look more like my animal than it does right now. So if you have any questions, feel free to stop into my office hour. I'm happy to help you, even if you're not in my classroom. I had a friend stop in from Miss Suffrage's room yesterday, and it was great to be able to catch up and have a little chat. So thanks, Ben, for coming in. I enjoyed it. Anybody else is welcome to come in and say hi. One of my students was reading to me when Ben dropped in, so you'll just have to be patient and wait a little bit so I can finish what I'm doing with the student from my room, but then I'll be more than happy to talk with you and answer questions about the project. I would suggest, because I've kind of made a mess all over my dining room table, maybe you skip the paper mache part and you do the Play-Doh or you do the picture, but it is pretty cool when you get this all done and you make the sculpture out of the paper mache. It's really going to have to be whatever mom and dad say. And please don't argue with mom and dad if they say, nope, that's too messy. We're going to do one of the other two options. All right, for now, that's it. You guys have a great day. There's nothing for you to do in Seesaw today. You need to start figuring out how you're going to do your drawing, start your drawing, or start making the Play-Doh and start working on coming up with your animal out of Play-Doh, or gather materials, maybe some aluminum foil, maybe some leftover boxes to start building the skeleton of your animal. See you, love you, bye.